Amamoke.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News, who had the courage to transcend a locked-off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemere Glover. Naomi.
Well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Ivo Mojafo, and my middle name is Bamidele. That was the name that my parents gave me at birth because it was like they regarded themselves as not Lagosians. It is Providence that brought them into Lagos. And I then happened to be born here at Odo Street in Obalende. And in fact, we had it, we didn't go to Mercy Hospital then. There was a little home along Odo Street run by a very experienced nurse. Mama Nurse, that's what we, So I was born in that little place and grew up from there. Like I said, my middle name is Bamidele. My parents probably said, well, we have had it here, but this is not home. As at that time, you will go home with us. No problem. So I started off at St. Matthias Catholic Primary School on Louis Street. And I was in St. Matthias from 1953 till 1960 when we finished with our primary school leaving certificate. Then from there, an extra year at Holy Cross School. We did that extra, they call it prep class. Prepare yourself to go to the secondary school. And from Holy Cross, for 1 year, I moved on to St. Gregory's College, Lagos. Now, growing up in Lagos was one of the best things that happened to us then. Life was good, life was easy, life was safe, life was like everything that a young man could aspire to. We went to school with Scholars Bus, which was virtually provided for free. When Scholars Bus was not available, it was fun walking from Obalende, firstly to St. Matthias, and then from there to St. Gregory's College. Life was good, life was safe. You could go out any time of the day. You could play from house to house. Parents knew each other very well. And so, in fact, when you were late somewhere on your street or in your neighborhood, you could sleep there because they would send a message to your home that Dele is here, so don't bother. The next morning you wake up, have your bath, have breakfast, return to your home. There was this community life that we all lived. Parents could discipline children of their friends, okay? Not like these days, you dare not touch any other child. The parents will come and, do a battle with you that I didn't send my child to you to be flogged or to be beaten. So it was a very beautiful life. So went to St. Matthias, went to St. Gregory's College, and then from there to University of Lagos. We were brothers keepers. School was fun. Teachers were all there just to teach you. There was no messing around. There weren't any bad habits that people could be developing along the line, you know. So that was my life growing up. So we were all walking through Balinde to Lafiaji, to Campus Square, to Tokumbo, Okekpopo, you know. So we were children of the neighborhood. We were children of the area. So I'm never ashamed to say I'm an area boy in Lafiaji, you know. Today it has become a taboo, but then we were proud of our origin. We were proud of our place of birth, and we were proud growing up in the neighborhood. So today, still believe me, I get up on some Fridays, I just go to Lafiaji, I stay with the guys. Okay, not all of us were fortunate enough to go through the system. Okay, so those who, in quote, we left behind, we still, a lot of the time, we still talk to them, we still relate to them when there are problems that we could fix. You know, we help out. Because, I mean, it wasn't their fortune to be able to have gone. I know some dropped out, you know, on their own volition. But generally, we all like the idea of going to school, but some couldn't make it. But we still relate to them. We are still friends. So I'm not surprised I leave Holy Cross Cathedral and I just hear people call me my names. And I know these people are those who knew me when we were growing up. Let me start by saying that even at secondary school, I read a lot. I was interested in the newspapers. And a lot of the time, I read something, there was always this beautiful column of letters to the editor. So anything that I read that I liked, I sit down, 2-3 paragraphs letter to the editor to compliment what they've done, to criticize what I didn't like, and these things were published. And I liked it, okay? You open the papers and you just see, contributed by Steve Omojafor, or some will call me Bamidele Omojafor. So that kept me getting interested in the media. So when I left secondary school, after higher school, I would just pay a visit to Daily Times, which was in Tinubu, Kakawa Street. I just pay a visit there, you know, and I got talking to people. They would take me to the newsroom, you know. They would just show me how newspapers are produced and all that. That ignited my interest. So when I left higher school, mass communication was what occurred to me. I know that my uncle, you are not doing accountancy, you are not doing engineering, you're not doing medicine, you want to go and become a newspaper boy. I said, yes, this is where my interests lie. So I got admitted to Lagos University and studied mass communication there. And while I was there, I developed a column in Lagos Weekend of those days. Every Friday I was contributing. And I was writing under the name of Akinbodilon. Now, Akinbodilon itself is a name that I picked up in a drama group because we had a drama group that we produced all kinds of little plays here and there at J.K. Randall Hall, you know. So one of the roles I played was Akimbodilon. So when I started writing my columns in Daily Times and Lagos Weekend, I just used that pen name, Akimbodilon. You know. So I did the program and I started writing for Daily Times campus news, things that happened.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi. Well done, and shout out to Souq News. Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
And it was very painful when I had to leave the Daily Times organization. And what did I go to? Lintas advertising. When I walked into Lintas, and I said to the chairman managing director, and I said, I want a job. I said, just like that? I said, yes, sir. You know, then it was easy to communicate with people. We're not too many, so they listen to you. So he said, what are you doing? I said, I know, I'm a sub-editor at the Daily Times. So why are you coming to advertising? I want to broaden my space. I want to broaden my experiences. It took about 3 months, and I got a job in Lintas. And I remember Alhaji Babatunde Joseph, when I was going to leave, said, look, Steve, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Lintas. I said, well, we do the same thing. They package programs commercially. Here we do our papers and we go sell, you know. So I said, okay, sir, let me just go gather some experience at Lintas. And Lintas and Daily Times were just 5 minutes walk from each other. And I said, sir, if the editor needs me for anything, trust me, I will spend my time and money, do write-ups for Daily Times. So I was like working in advertising and still writing for the Daily Times, you know. So that was my life. From Lintas, we set up our own company known as Roosevelt Advertising Limited. And Roosevelt, was formed by 3 partners, you know, two friends of mine. 3 of us were at Lagos University at the same mass comm department. So we came out, and I left Daily Times to set up Roosevelt. One of my partners left Cadbury to join us, and Akodusi left Admark, another advertising company. So 3 of us came together and we set up Roosevelt. We call ourselves second generation agencies, because before then we were the Ogilvy, the Lintas, Grant Advertising, and so on. So we set up a small shop in Surulere, and it grew beyond our own imaginations. From Roosevelt, we set up a second line agency called McCann, STB McCann. Got affiliated to a company in America, McCann Erickson. So that was how it all went on. Now, I didn't do banking, and I didn't work as a banker. The interesting story is that one day, while still at Roosevelt, no, STB McCann then, I got a phone call from somebody I've never met before. And I picked up the call. He said, my name is ABC, blah, blah, blah. And he said, the managing director of Zenith Bank wants to talk to me. So I said, no, there's no problem. I know I'm not owing any bank and all that. He said, no. He just wants to talk to you. So I picked up, he picked up the line and said, my name is this. And I said, my name is this. He said, can we meet? So I said, no problem. He said, no. So we agreed to meet. And it got to be that he wanted to appoint a couple of directors for the bank before they went public. And what I said to him was, I'm not a banker. I didn't study finance or economics. He said, no. What I want from you is your name and your integrity. Nothing beyond that. So that was the beginning of the story. So I got onto the board, and I learned a lot. You know, I'm somebody who doesn't get to a place and I want to show them what I know or what I don't know. You could make a fool of yourself sometimes. So for me, like the first 6 months or 1 year was just go to the meeting, listen to them, know where they are coming from, know what the focus is, and know what the expectations are. So I picked it up from there, and gradually I got into the system. Of course, naturally, buy some books on banking, finance, just read, you know, so at least you know how the banks are operating. I've always been a customer of the banks in a very small scale, and all I did was follow the banking trend. You know, there weren't too many banks in Nigeria at that point in time, but I followed through, and that was it. I got onto the board, and somewhere along the line, there was a policy of the central bank. The managing director had to step aside, so to say. The chairman had overspent some time regulated by the CBN, and they approached me and said, you are going to become, at the board, you're going to become the chairman of the board. I said, me? And they said, yes. I've met a lot of people here, so why me anyway? To cut the short story long, I was eventually made the chairman of Zenith Bank. And I was there, I was chairman for 4 years. And then CBN rules changed again. The MD came back, and I was very happy to hand over the bank to him. And I said I was going to leave when he came back. He said no. Statutorily, as he had 2 more years on the board, that no, you got to stay and live out your time. And then, so I did. And after 12 years, I eventually bowed out from the bank and then returned full time to my own job, which I've been known for, and that is the media world. Okay, so I get invited for interviews, for programs here and there. Like you said, it's always a good thing. You have something you have learned over the years, you want to impact it on the younger ones, who are coming. I mean, my first son, for instance, went through the media scene, now in advertising, and I go on encouraging them. I retired from active day-to-day operations about almost 15 years ago, but I'm still keeping pace with what is going on around me. Yeah, I mean, the society itself is very dynamic. There's been a lot of changes over time. I mean, I look back to during my own time in the newspaper world, and I can count just about 4 or 5 newspapers then, okay? Morning Post, Daily Times, The Express, and a couple of others. So we knew each other, we knew the practice, we exchanged news information, we exchanged, I mean, if you had a news that was breaking, you know, you want to call up colleagues from other papers, we all go there as a team, right? Because stories will be written from different angles, no matter what you do, you know. So newspaper was great. And it was so good. In the morning, your byline was there, and people were trying to reach you, you know, about the quality. Quality was good. Quality was good. And there wasn't too much of freelancing in those days in the newspaper world. So you were either fully employed or you didn't belong. Same thing for radio. I mean, for instance, television I didn't do much about. While in journalism and in newspaper world, I was writing for radio, okay? Interesting stories. I had, there was a name to this program, the Oddities, Odd World. So we were picking up things that were odd. People that didn't imagine what they were. It's not something that was very common. So we went on doing that. So newspapers were growing, radio was growing, television was growing, and out-of-home media was also growing. And talk about the dynamism of the system. Suddenly, people were now going out of buying a newspaper every day to sit down and hold it in front of you, trying to read from beginning, from cover to cover. Other forms of communication came on. With the advent of mobile phones, things began to change. In our own time, it was the phone you put on the desk and you were dialing it, to, you know. A lot of the time, you could never get across, okay? Suddenly, mobile phone came onto the scene. And news coverage was transformed completely from what it used to be, okay? So now, people on their phone could reach out, you could touch Germany, touch America, touch all parts of Europe, just sitting down in your office to gather information, gather news, what is new, you know? And then, of course, we now had more television stations, no longer NTA alone, okay? Now, with the news stations, things were just expanding. Things were broadening up, and news gathering became something new altogether, and everybody was heading for a new phenomenon altogether. So today, you don't have to be a big guy to be able to tell your stories. Little children tell their stories, female tell their stories, you know. So really we have moved from the days of waiting to read your newspaper to gather your news. Now, with your phone on your palm, you could do wonders all over. But of course, standard also, in some areas, standard will improve. In some areas, standards will go down. Because the multiplicity of media sources create problems. The kind of quality control we used to have in those days was disappearing. And people can build up stories without even being there to know if it is factual or not. So of course, the turmoil that we are going through in the media space now is better imagined. But I still believe that for those who have structures like the one you are building up now, will enable people to know that you got to check, you got to cross-check, okay? I mean, we have laws that control what we say, what you do, what you publish. Of course, they are not as rigid as they should be, you know. So in terms of content these days, you have to ensure that you check your facts so before you can believe, you know, what they are saying or make any sense out of them. So really it has become all commerce affair. And this is not going to be the end. The explosion is going to continue. Maybe in a few years to come, we're going to have a stronger media control than what we have now. I mean, people are building content. You go on YouTube, you go on all kinds of media, and you are getting all kinds. What you hear from your WhatsApp is different from what you're going to get in your YouTube. You go to Instagram. People are selling themselves with all kinds of stories. So really, for me, we've gone through the era of sanity in the media, and I hate to say, we've gone into the era where anything you can think of, say it, write it, do it, and for the consumers, it's like you either take it or you leave it. But it's good that we can now reach out much, much widely. I mean, thanks to our mobile news. I mean, you talk to people in any village in Nigeria, and suddenly one thing that didn't grab us so early was you open up your Google map, and you don't have to stop people on the street anymore. Show me where I'm going. Just go to the app, and it leads you to the front of the house you are going to. So we have a lot of improvements, and I think it's going to be improving some more. All we just need to watch is to ensure that we remain truthful.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News. Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News. Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange with
Blessing Eche,
Femi Ayodele, Sam Oruoje, and Idahosa Osamanze.
It's a national orientation agency. It's, as far as I'm concerned, very ideal and unprofessional.
Government says that subsidy is not in oil, and government is not supposed to be paying subsidy in oil.
Energy or whatever kind of off-grid solution we will be looking at.
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, is abysmal. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is Early Exchange,
shaping policy, advancing development.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News. Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Early Exchange,
shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, it's another beautiful day, another great opportunity for us to look at issues related to business, finance, the economy. We're also going to discuss global issues. This is Early Exchange, and I am Femi Ayodele. As you know, the Early Exchange is all about shaping policy and advancing development. With our conversation today, we're prepared to give you the best of programming. We'll be looking at the World Economic Forum, the summit taking place in Davos. It's a special one, and we're going to look at the agenda for that conference. Our special guest is going to be here later, to talk about the focus of the conference. Don't forget, this is your program. This implies you can be part of this conversation by going on our social media platform, on our social media page, on our YouTube page, to share your view, for you to also talk about the conference. What's your take on the conference? This is an opportunity for you to also talk about it. You know, we always say that early exchange is getting bigger and better. There are certain changes that are taking place today, and it's not going to be business as usual. You know, early exchange is getting better. What that means is that rather than having 3-hour drive, it's going to be a 2-hour drive, and then we're going to focus more on global issues. All right, let's kick off the show with news update, and Adeso will be standing by after this break to take us around the world. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Atemari Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News. Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Hello and welcome to News Update on Souq News. I'm Adesua Iromoseli. The West African Power Pool has proposed a $156 million annual budget for a 330 kilovolt North Core power transmission project aimed at linking West African countries. This was revealed by the Secretary General of WAP, Senghor Apollinaire, during the 7th meeting of the Joint Supervision Committee in Abuja, Nigeria. The project involves the construction of about 880 kilometers of 330 kilowatt and 33 kilometers of 225 kilovolt high voltage transmission line connecting Niger, Benin Republic, Burkina Faso and Togo, facilitating energy exchanges and expanding electricity access in the region. The project's budget for the year, $156 million, is anticipated to cover the work in Nigeria and Benin Republic. The North Core project, funded by the World Bank, African Development Bank, European Union, and other stakeholders, is designed to address electricity supply-demand imbalances and foster efficient energy trade within the ECOWAS region. Moving on, the African Export and Import Bank, Afrexim Bank, has disbursed the initial tranche of $3.3 billion crude oil prepayment loan to the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL. According to official statement from the bank, the first disbursement amounted to approximately $2.25 billion, with a second and final tranche of $1.05 billion expected later. While describing the disbursement as a landmark financing in the Nigeria's largest crude oil prepayment facility in 2023, the bank's president, Benedict Oromo, noted that the loan will attract investors considering ticket sizes of $1,250 million and $500 million. Additionally, the disbursement is expected to support Nigeria's long-term economic stability, industrialization, import financing, and trade development. Away from that, sequel to the Nigerian government's 6-week suspension of the 4 programs under the National Social Investment Programs Agency, NSIPA, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of a special presidential panel, which is to be led by the coordinating Minister of Economy and his Ministry of Finance counterpart, Wale Edun. In a statement signed on by the Director of Information, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Segun Imohionse, the suspension was in view of the ongoing investigation of alleged corruption in the managing of the agency and its programs. The panel's primary responsibility is to conduct a thorough review and audit of the existing financial framework and policy guidelines of the social investment programs. Similarly, the panel will implement a comprehensive re-engineering of the financial architecture with detailed modifications to enhance the program's implementation process. And now, following an impressive 2023 with Tesla Incorporated's share doubling, the electric vehicle giant is facing a challenging start to 2024. Within the first 2 weeks, Tesla has experienced a substantial market valuation loss exceeding $94 billion. This downturn is linked to a series of adverse events, including Hertz Global Holdings Incorporated's electric vehicle strategy reversal, additional price cuts for Tesla's China-manufactured cars, and signs of escalating labor costs. This downturn in Tesla's market capitalization is the worst the company in the same time period has experienced since it went public in 2010. Tesla and CEO Elon Musk's case are also not helping by reports of defect in newly released Cybertruck, which was expected to be the main driver of Tesla's growth this year. And finally, the 2024 edition of the World Economic Forum kicks off today in Davos, Switzerland. It is the body's 54th annual meeting that brings together world leaders, heads of organizations and society, influencers, experts, and many others for a week-long event to fashion out answers to the global economic issues. An estimated 1,600 corporate leaders are billed to attend, including over 800 of the world's top CEOs and chairs from the World Economic Forums and partners organizations. There will also be more than 150 global innovators, IT pioneers, and unicorns lending their expertise to the event. Davos 2024 is themed Rebuilding Trust and will present the most recent ideas for advancement in the areas of trade, economic expansion, employment, climate and environmental action, energy transition, technological disruption, and health and well-being. And that's it on News Updates today. Many thanks for staying with us. Stay with us for more information on Souq News, where we'll bring you the biggest stories from Davos all through this week. I'm Adesuwa Ramoseli. Many thanks for watching.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for? And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange with Blessing Eche, Femi Ayodele, Sam Oruoje, and Idahosa Osamanze.
It's a national orientation agency. It's, as far as I'm concerned, very idle and unprofessional.
The government says that subsidy is not in oil, and government is not supposed to be paying subsidy in oil.
Energy or whatever kind of off-grid solution we will be looking at.
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, is abysmal. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is Early Exchange,
shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, thank you, Adesua, for the news update. Like I said earlier, Early Exchange is getting bigger and better. Certain changes are taking place, and We're doing this to serve your best interest. Today we'll be looking at the World Economic Forum, which is taking place today. Today is quite historic. It's happening in Davos, Switzerland, where captains of industries, heads of nations are gathering together to look at such agenda for the world. The World Economic Forum started in 1971. It was founded by a professor at the University of Geneva with the intention of creating a platform for world leaders to come together to resolve international conflicts and also to set an agenda for the world. It started with the name European Management Forum in 1971, but the name World Economic Forum came into being in 1987 with the decisions of the organizers when they decided that it's important to rename the forum. It's the 54th edition today, and it's starting today, and it's going to last till Friday, where about 2,000 or over 2,000 delegates are expected to gather in Davos to look at the agenda for the meeting. Part of the agenda is to also talk about the issue of security, to look at the issue of global security and how to resolve some of the conflict. And that's why it's so strategic to tag the conference, Rebuilding Trust. That's the theme or the focus of the conference for this year, the year 2024, is Rebuilding Trust. The question is, does trust exist in the first place when you talk about the global players? Looking at the tension in the Middle East, it's also important to look at things going on around the world, and that's the reason you have the issue of security to be part of the agenda for that meeting. Also, the focus will also be to look on the impact of artificial intelligence. In the world that we live now, AI is becoming the rave of the moment. It's becoming a force to reckon with. And that's why world leaders are going to gather in Davos to talk about the impact of artificial intelligence on the economy and the world at large. It's so strategic for us to look at this, and we'll go on a short break now to reconnect with our guests, whereby the conversation will start. Stay with us.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown. Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News. If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it, because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moments I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News, who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
This is Early Exchange,
shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, it's the Early Exchange, and our focus is on the World Economic Forum taking place in Davos. The conference is starting today. To shed more light on this, we are being joined by a special guest. He's a man of many parts. He's a global affairs analyst, and he's the ambassador extraordinary to the island of Antigua and Barbuda to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have the privilege of hosting Ambassador Williams Wallace. Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Thank you very much, Femi. How are you? Happy New Year.
I'm good. It's the first time we're having this conversation this year, so glad to be your host this morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you and with the station, always doing groundbreaking interviews and talking about really relevant things for the world at large, but Africa and Nigeria in particular.
Thank you so much for the commendation. Now let's start the conversation looking at the World Economic Forum, the conference taking place in Davos today, starting today. Now the theme for that conference is Rebuilding Trust. Let's start the conversation by looking at the theme for the conference. Why do you think it's strategic to come up with this kind of theme for the conference, looking at rebuilding trust among nations? The question is, the issue of trust, does it exist in the first place? Now, why is it so critical at this time to talk about it?
You know, I'm happy that you are looking at keywords. And, you know, when people use a keyword or a theme, there is always a reason behind it. And yes, we have to ask, is there any trust? My answer is no. The world does not trust these, large people pushing their own agenda and coming up with themes, to what I would say fool the public. Rebuilding trust. They know now that nobody trusts what they have had to say. They are not a decision-making body to commit to decisions. But what they do, what they all do, is that they're influencers. They come with their own agenda to push their own agenda and ask the world, especially when we talk in terms of relevance to Africa, Nigeria, etc., to believe in them and believe in what they say. What trust do we have now in those influencers and those organizations, which, if you check them, they are really billionaire organizations, all pushing for capitalism. They are not really interested, if you look back at what they have achieved or what they have tried to do, anything for the poor of the world. Let's just put it into two halves, capitalism and poverty. At the moment, poverty has doubled, tripled since they have started. So what have they done? What can you say you trust from what they have said in all these non-decision-making meetings that they've had? All they have done is pushed their own agenda, whether it's the billionaires of Bezos or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. All they're looking for is capitalism. And these are the type of people who are gathered. It's what I call a grand party. How can you have 2,000, over 2,000 people coming together, talk shows, and they don't have the right to make any decisions. So you just have politics on one side, and you have capitalism on the other side, and together the two shall meet. Not that the two shall not meet, the two are meeting. So what are you saying? If you are a capitalist and you are coming to meet me as a politician, what are you trying to do? Are you not trying to influence me as a politician and the politics of my country? That is the question we have to ask. So there is no trust. Do people trust politicians, especially when they're driven by people who are influencers because of their capital? No. If they are interested in really changing things and building trust, build trust practically, implement trust. For example, let's use Africa, for example. Come to Africa, match government strategic policies and put your money behind those strategic policies to support the country, alleviate poverty, whether it's sharing in the wealth and resources of the country or ensuring that the people in the country share in your capital. Be a benefactor, not to keep introducing agendas that is going to increase your capital because you've got the money now. It's not that you're looking for capital. You have capital. Make that capital work. Stop all this nonsense of going to World Economic Forums and a talk show and just trying to influence the politicians, because when they say governments, it's the politicians who come there, meet with them, and they say, oh, if you do this for us, we will give you this. Not that it's going to trickle down to the country. That is my view.
All right. The World Economic Forum started in 1971, even though it started with the name European Management Forum. Now, years after, would you say that the purpose for which this forum was created has been achieved, looking at the level of participation and the evolution that's happened to this forum over the years? What's your take on this?
Well, the take is twofold. Initially, what was it? World European Forum, right?
You can hear me.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm saying in the first instance, it was catering for a World European Forum, not so?
That's true. You're right, sir.
Right. So let's look at it in two stages. Yes, it has achieved what it needed for the Europeans. The European had and got their European Union. The Europeans had a coming together with a single market. The Europeans got a single currency. That's success for them. So they were very, very focused on ensuring that the World European Forum got what it needed. They now expanded that to the World Economic Forum, the rest of the world. What has the rest of the world been able to achieve from this forum? The answer is not the same. Why don't we, for example, have, if you were very serious about what you did, have the very same achieved for Africa? Africa economics needs a united forum like the World European Forum achieved, which is a union, right? We have the African Union. We have now the ACFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. Why don't you help to encourage Africa, for example? And I keep, going to our continent, why don't you now implement some of that capital to ensure that the economics of the continent benefit the continent, just as it did Europe, because Europe was able to achieve within that short period of time a single monetary system, which Africa needs, a single unit and a single market, which Africa needs as well. So for me, the European Union was achieved through the World European Forum. Now, if you're talking about the World Economic Forum, the countries that need the benefit, India, Africa, those areas that need the input of outside capital, foreign direct investment, to ensure that they achieve their economic goals. Europe achieved their economic goals. Let's have the other parts of the world achieve their economic goals. Let's be serious, because that was what the first initial idea was that was achieved in Europe. And now we need to achieve that elsewhere.
If I may hear, if I heard you correctly, are you insinuating that the essence of changing the name to World Economic Forum hasn't been achieved, but the fact that you still have the grip of the European countries on the forum, and then there's also this bias that the United States set the agenda for the world? Are you insinuating that it hasn't now achieved the purpose of making it encompassing?
I'm not insinuating. I'm saying it practically. You're absolutely correct. Who sets the agenda? What is the agenda? And who's in charge of what is to be discussed at these forums? You're absolutely, it's not an institution. It's there, plain to see, that it's an agenda, and the agenda is set, again, although it's a non-decision making body, but it's an influencing body. And they are trying to influence the rest of the world to fit into their agenda. Just look at who's invited. Look at who's invited, and look at their track record of what they have done at the expanded world economics in reality. They have done absolutely nothing to improve the lives of people in the wider economic society, which is the continents of Africa, the continents of Asia, including, places like India, Bangladesh, etc. So let's be real. These people set agendas, invite these people to what I'll call a swan, of a week enjoyment in ski resorts, to do what? Those things, it should be scrapped. Keep to your World European Union and your World European Forum, and keep achieving what you want for yours. Let others, why don't we have, as Magufuli said, why don't they come to Africa? Why don't they go to other locations and hear from those leaders and not choose who they want to come to the forum? You have to be invited. I mean, can you imagine? You have to be invited. So in other words, it's it's jobs for the boys. Who do we invite this year and why? Okay, we want to invite this particular country because they have this that we can achieve our capitalist goals. I like to be very straight talking and straightforward in what we need to say. We need to challenge these people about their agendas. What is your real agenda? Because we have not seen anything that has benefited the world economics.
All
The
right, talking
expanded world
about the agenda
economics.
for the forum, if you look at the agenda for the forum, these are things that are not just exclusive, but they are things that are universal. And with the fact that the organizers have given a level playing field, make it open for participants, for their voices to be heard, don't you think they are also trying to make it obvious that it's also to pursue the world agenda or the global agenda rather than looking at the interests of the European countries?
Right. Yes, they have opened it up and put topics there. But what I am saying is those topics and expanding it globally. What is the reality behind it? What has been achieved? What do you set as goal objectives and follow it through? Since it's a non-decision making body, they cannot be bound to carry through with anything that's discussed there. They cannot be, because it's a non-decision making body. It's not something that you can say you are part of this community of people and we make a peer decision and then you commit this amount of funds for achieving this. We have not seen that happen in reality over the years, because they can walk away after they have left there and say, well, we have other priorities and do not need to put our capital into these decisions that may have been discussed, but not committed to in any way real and the ability to pursue that, because the next year there's going to be another theme again. How do you have any measurement mechanism to say, what have we achieved from 2024 to 2025? What commitment do they have for that? That's what I would like to throw to you and perhaps the audience at large. What are the commitments that they make that are followed through to the letter?
All right, now let's focus on the agenda for this forum. The first thing on the list is the achieving security and cooperation amid rising geopolitical tensions. And the reference here is to look at the geopolitical tensions taking place in the Middle East, for instance. You know, looking at the war going on between Israel and Gaza. What impact do you think the submissions at this forum will make on the ongoing war, looking at that of Ukraine and Russia as well?
Right. So you see, let's be very practical, Femi. Look at it again. You are concentrating, which is what they are. You are reflecting what they have said. On the agenda is security. And what are they pushing? What is happening in Israel and the Middle East? What is happening in Ukraine and Russia? What is actually happening in the Congo? What is happening in West Africa? What is happening in East Africa? Why are these not brought up to the top of the table? I have to be thinking, we have to put forward our issues, our security issues. We have major security issues on the continent of Africa. But instead, this agenda is pushing security in the Middle East, security in Russia and Ukraine. So it's keeping those issues at the top of the table. So all invited world leaders, they are asking you to concentrate and focus on those, whilst you are blindsided real issues that concern us as Africans, that concern us, on the continent. I would like to see that put into the agenda as part of if you want to seriously discuss security, let's have that as part of the agenda. I am insular in my thinking where this is concerned. The Asians can put forward their issues. Other continents can put forward their issue. But you don't put forward and say, we must now focus on the Middle East. We must now focus on Ukraine and Russia. What the hell does that have to do with what is happening to the rest of the world? Inclusiveness means talking about what's happening on the continent. There are several security issues we have on the continent. What is happening in other parts of the world? Asia. Put all those things on the agenda. Show us that you really have expanded an inclusiveness to the world security issues, not just what you want us to focus on.
All right. Now, let's look at the ongoing war between Israel and Gaza, because that's just a reference here. What do you think can be done differently now to ensure that peace is being restored in that region? And then what will be the lessons for other regions? Because you're talking about the Middle East now. And what could be the lessons for other regions looking at the thrust of the controversy going on between Israel and Gaza?
Right. We talked about rebuilding trust. How can you rebuild trust when the players and obvious genocides that are taking place, because it is now public, in the public domain, and people have been making enough demonstrations, and even South Africa has joined in the fray to take, Israel as a country to the International Court of Justice. It means that we do not have trust in the powers that be to come to decision makings that ensures that lives on both sides are, protected. War, as I said in a previous interview, should be avoided by peace talks in the first place and discussing what are the issues. What are the issues that need to be ironed out and ensure that we have reason and rationale to avoid the eventual conflict. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East, since it is the issue that has been brought up and the issue that is in the agenda, is how do you ensure that apparent genocide, is avoided and people are not displaced and people can live a life. You see it on television. It's nothing hidden now. It's on television. On both sides, you've had the initial attacks on Israel, which of course was horrific, but you have to ask what pushed them to do what they did. And then on the other side, the response. It is an ongoing war of attrition, destroying a country, destroying a people. Is the retaliation, how do we say, is it, you can't call killing measurable, but is it, an ongoing situation where you continue to bomb hospitals, homes, after you're going, a percentage of the people who are the militants in a country? Is there not another method to be able to ensure that the lives of babies, hospitals, and people going about their daily lives are protected? Not everyone is involved in violence. So meeting to discuss resolving those issues, the World Economic Forum or the participants from the organizers, the people who have organized it, should say, put a stop and ensure there is a stop of what is going on in the Middle East and come to the table and discuss properly how do we stop this war of attrition, because a war of attrition is not helpful for humanity and for humanitarian reasons. We must stop this issue of retaliating with too much firepower. This is what it is, I can level your country, I will level it. Why?
All right, we're due for a break now. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, our conversation with Ambassador Wallace will kick off or continue. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godi Odidi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
My name is Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi.
Well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirement.
My name is Olatunji Shoti-Miri. I'm a performing artist and, television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching Souq News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching Souq News. If you're not watching Souq News, I pity you, but keep watching Souq News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timmy Dakolo, and you're watching Souq News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko, co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at Souq News. Guys, keep watching Souq News for everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news. Souq News is your station.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godi Odidi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for. And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
Lateef Jakande. Born Lateef Kayode Jakande in the Ekpetedo area of Lagos Island, Lagos State, on July 1929. He studied at the Lagos Public School at Enowa, Lagos Island, then at Bonham Memorial Methodist School, Port Harcourt, King's College, enrolled at Ilesha Grammar School, where he edited a literary paper called The Quarterly Mirror. Jakande began a career in journalism in 1949 with a daily service and joined the Nigerian Tribune in 1953. The owner, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, appointed Jakande editor-in-chief of the Tribune in 1956. Jakande established John West Publications in 1975 after leaving Tribune and began to publish the Lagos News. He served as the first president of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, NPAN. Jakande ran for election as executive governor of Lagos State in 1979 on the Unity Party of Nigeria platform. His administration was effective and open and implemented the cardinal policies of his party. He introduced housing and educational programs targeting the poor, building new neighborhood primary and secondary schools, and providing free primary and secondary education. He gave poor people's children education, and many of them are now very prominent in the society today. Jakande established the Lagos State University and constructed over 30,000 housing units. After the military takeover in 1983, Jakande was charged, prosecuted, and convicted of treason and later pardoned. He served as Minister of Works under the Sani Abacha military regime. He died in Lagos on February 11, 2021. Lateef Jakande was the first civilian governor of Lagos State. Lateef Kayode Jakande, Souq Enlightenment.
In oil,
energy, or whatever kind of oil-grid solution we will be looking at.
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, is abysmal. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, if you're just joining us, you're at the right place at the right time. We got you covered. We're still looking at the World Economic Forum taking place in Davos. The conference or the forum is starting today, and our special guest, Ambassador Williams Wallace, is still there with us. Glad to know you're still there with us, Ambassador Wallace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's still talk about the issue of security, which is part of the first on the list for the agenda for this meeting, because I want us to have an extensive conversation as regards this conference. Now, part of the issues that we have to focus on the issue of global terrorism. You know, you're aware of the recent bombing attack on the sea that happened recently. Now, what do you think can be achieved or be done utilizing this kind of forum to lend a voice to the war to tackling terrorism globally?
Right. One of the things that we keep forgetting is that some of the people attending these forums, as I said before, have their agendas. They have their fingers in the pie of supplying arms and ammunition, and are also interested in the resources of the world. And again, I will steer the conversation back to Africa. It has been found out, and you check it yourself, that the very same people are very much involved in resource exploration and exploitation. And therefore, they find it convenient not to go after stopping terrorism in certain countries, because whilst the terrorism is going on or are being fueled or funded even by themselves, it's been found out, the exploitation of resources are continuing. I want us to be very objective here that, you know, they are not so-called, you know, saviors for people who are involved in the conflict regions. There's always an agenda behind the conflicts, the terrorism that goes on in most parts of the world, whether it's oil, whether it's gold, diamonds, lithium, cobalt. You know, you only have to look at behind all of these, who are the people that are benefiting? You know, who are the people that are exploiting? Who are the people that are taking out the resources, you know, landing on strips and moving out gold and other diamonds and other resources? Who are the people that inflicted the wars in Iraq, in Libya, and other parts of the world? So to talk about terrorism and security, let's deal with it in a very real and practical way. Stop it. And how do you stop it? It is quite easy to stop these terrorisms by ensuring that they are not supplied with arms and ammunition. Where do they get it? Where do they get the money to buy, you know, so much arms and ammunition to continue conflicts in regions where it is ongoing. You know, terrorist money can always be tracked. The banks knows, you know, who has what. They know how to find where the money, you know, as they say, follow the money. But some of them are very complicit in aiding and abetting the people whose resources fund their banks. So they will keep quiet. They'll keep mum. You check most of the banks and the billions that they have in it. If any of those billionaires says, I want this money to go here, which bank is going to say no? Which bank is going to reveal that their biggest depositor, you know, has been funneling money to a particular organization or individual? None. They won't, because their aim is to keep and continue to have increased deposits. And whoever brings that in is the king of the bank, not the poor teller and or the poor manager, but of course the executives are complicit. They know. They move the money. They help move the money. They find ways of moving the money around. So let's look at, one, the arms and ammunition, who supply them, and two, where do they get the money from? We should be practical about these things. Yes, stop terrorism. How? Let's get practical. Follow the money, follow the trail of arms and ammunition supply. If we can do that and we can stop it, yes, then you are doing something very real and practicable.
All right. Earlier, while you were making your submission, you questioned why references are not being made to the insecurity issues in Africa or West Africa. Now that you have representatives from this part of the continent, you know, attending this conference, what kind of proposition would you have expected from these delegates in order to change the narrative? Now that they can speak for themselves, you have representatives from West Africa or Africa who are attending this forum. What kind of steps or proposition will you expect from them in order to change the narrative as regards the agenda, even for the next one coming up?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. If I was the leaders from West Africa and we have been invited and we will go with our own agenda. What are they going to meet? They are going to meet capital, isn't it? This is a good forum where you have trillions of dollars represented by the billionaires and the captains of industry there. So go and meet them on the basis of investment on your terms. So you say, this is my government. This is strategic policy we want. We want investment in health. We don't want you to dictate our health policy, but we would like you to invest. In other words, give us your capital. We will make use of it. Now, I know people will say, okay, they will say, we need to control that because of corruption and other ills that African countries have demonstrated, you know, to capital inflow. But you can marry with the governments and their strategy, control the money and the flow of the money, ensuring that you see where your money is going on the strategic policies that particular government has come and said, I want to engage with you. So, for example, you have a health agenda for the country and they can see what the rollout is. You can actually utilize the money, purchase whatever is required for them that they say they need, and make sure it gets to the population, not into the pockets of the individuals who are involved in asking for that capital. That, for me, is a way of marrying strategic government policy with capital that is available, because these people have capital available. So if you're going to meet with them, engage them on a participation basis. This is my policy. You mean well? Okay, this is what I'd like to do. Hold your money, but bring the money in a controlled manner. This is how transparent this particular strategic policy of ours is, and I would like you to invest, right? Or I would like you to participate. And if this is a benefit of foreign direct investment that they can get and truly be able to attract, then I think they're there for a good reason, and therefore they can tap into money that's available to do and carry out their policies instead of having to borrow from World Bank and IMF, etc. This is, I would say, free money. And when I mean free money, I don't mean that it is entirely free. There may be conditions, but at least they are people who have the capital and can be influenced by those governments to come and participate in foreign direct investment in my country on terms that we can mutually agree.
All right, let's look at the second point or the agenda for the forum. The second one is creating growth and jobs for new era. Let me read to you specifically what is being said. It's a discussion on how government, business, and civil society can collaborate on new economic framework. Now, I put this to you. How do you think this can be achieved for countries to collaborate when it comes to economic framework so that you can achieve economic growth and then you can create proper jobs for individuals?
So it comes back to just the point I was making before, because this is a follow-up to that. Yes, collaboration based again on the framework and strategy of the particular government who's collaborating with the players there at the World Economic Forum to create jobs. So what is your job creation plan, Mr. Government, right? And the government says, these are my job creation plans, right? How will that benefit, the unemployed and alleviate poverty? This is the questions if I had the capital, will ask. And they must be able to show that. And how can I come and implement and still make maybe a profit if they are so profit-oriented rather than being a benefactor? How would I be able to make some profit from investing in your strategic framework? Fine. Now, part of it has to be the capital being utilized to improve training, human capital development, infrastructure within communities, because those you have to get right down to the community level. Government may talk about, they're strategic, but if I was a capitalist at this forum, I want to know and see and be able to participate in the implementation of policy that is going to really create employment, and not that the money disappears and nobody has been employed, poverty alleviation, and community infrastructure development, because we keep missing out that, for example, getting goods to market. Is it a road that is required? Okay, I'll bring in the money, I'll bring in the contractor, I'll do the roads. I will now participate with the community on their market goods that they can bring to the market. I will set up a factory in the community where that community is participating in my production and my technology. Those are real issues that a capitalist and money benefactor should be engaging with all these governments who are coming to say, okay, let's participate on a one-on-one. I want them to say, this is a human thought for me. I want to help. I want to help your government. I want to be able to participate in your strategic framework, your strategic economic plans. That's what I would expect, that those who go there find strategic partners who align with their strategic policy and what they intentionally can demonstrate they want to do for their communities. Because when you're a government, you're absolutely representing communities, because the community is what makes up the country. So I would want them to come down to the micro level and demonstrate, in participating, that this is what I want to do per community, individual areas that really do need the help to create the employment and to create the poverty alleviation. Those for me are real. Those are real things. So government should go there, or the governments who have gone there, with strategic policy plans, with strategic economic growth plans that you can see and you can measure over the next year, So next year they can come and say, we were able to do this. This is when I talked earlier on about measurement, being able to measure what has this been able to achieve in terms of the people who came and those that we engaged with.
All right, still talking about the issue of economic integrations, among nations. Let's focus on the issue of the distrust that exists among nations. What do you think can be done differently this time, utilizing the opportunity provided by this forum to address the issue of distrust that, exists among nations so that it won't serve as a setback to the proposed economic integration among nations?
Well, the distrust is real because everyone who comes with the idea, because I have capital, I can exploit and I can explore at my, benefit and for my benefit. That's a distrust, that they do not really come with good intentions, if you put it that way. They do not come with good intentions. Good intentions to build the trust has to go back to the points that I just made. Building community, building employable and training human capital development. Those are things that shows trust for a country, that if we have to have economic integration, also the balance of trade. Are you taking my resources, making products, selling back to us, and that we are not getting the benefit of the value chain? Are we participating in the value chain, in all aspects of the value chain? If you really mean well for us on economic integration, let's have good balance of trades. So, okay, let's have developed the product. Let's share in the proceeds of the product rather than you taking all that I have and paying me less than $1, but at the end of the value chain, my resource has been sold by you for $1,000. One product. Where is the economic integration and growth together? You don't mean well for me if you are not interested in me as a government and as a country participating in all aspects of the value chain. So it has to do with local content, human capital development. It has to do with participation in the value chain. So we all benefit. Why don't we have an agreement where at the end of the participation between my government and your investment, we share the profit? That doesn't happen. So therefore, there has to be mistrust. You are not intentioned to help me. You're intentioned to exploit me. Your intention to make maximum profit whilst my people suffer and continue in poverty. I go back again to Africa. Why do we have everybody who has the most resources, in their country, walking around poor and unemployed? And that is because those who come in to those countries on a basis of trust, I have the money. The mistrust is the end result. What is the end result? They have not participated in the value chain of my own resource. And that is the truth. It is an issue of mistrust and distrust because there is no participation of the value chain for the country and the participants who produce the goods and services at the end of the day.
All right, interesting. We need to take another breather now. We still have Ambassador William Wallace with us. He's making some interventions as regards to World Economic Forum taking place in Davos. We'll go on a short break now. We'll be right back to discuss more on the issue of the forum. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Rafiu Oladipo.
My name is Baba Jalal Repega.
I'm Reverend Juliet Benite.
I'm Godio Didi.
My name is Professor Oladokun Sulaiman Olarawaju.
Souq News is on the ground, loading.
Very enlightening, very educative, and entertaining.
Thank you to Souq News.
So I'm happy that Souq TV has come into existence.
I'm happy to be here in the Souq News.
I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and keep watching news that makes sense.
As Browning said, one's extension of one's reach should not exceed one's grasp, or what is heaven for? And I think Souq News is doing that.
Africa needs a voice of truth, and Souq News has become one of them. And get ready, get ready, get ready.
And keep watching.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. It's a place to be.
Keep watching.
My name is Dr. Agility Obi.
My name is Etemari Glover. Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the outer marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji-Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. Souq Enlightenment.
We're looking at
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, is abysmal. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
Yes, indeed. Our obligation is to shape policy and advance development with our conversation. And that's why we're looking at the development taking place in Davos, which is the World Economic Forum, taking place and is starting today. Our special guest is still here with us. He's been making submissions as regards the agenda for the conference. Glad to know you are still there with us, Ambassador Wallace.
Well, thank you very much, Femi.
All right. Now let's look at the third agenda, for this forum, which has to do with AI, the artificial intelligence. It's becoming the rave of the moment, a force to reckon with in the society. What kind of conversation are you expecting from this kind of forum related to AI? And then how do you think the issue of AI can be deployed to drive economic growth and arrive at a better society?
Okay, that's a very $60 million question, and it has to be thought out very well. AI, we first have to understand it. What does it mean for economic growth? Is it going to be replacing human involvement? Because we are seeing from AI quite a lot of robotics engineering. Is it that the workplace is going to change and we are going to depend more on artificial intelligence to drive the economic growth of advanced countries? How would it benefit less advanced countries? What should they do to keep pace with artificial intelligence? If that is the new wave and rave, we got to think carefully. Where are the economic benefits to come from this? Does it mean that we will rapidly deploy and increase the production capacity of a particular country? Does it mean that artificial intelligence will now subsume, human intelligence? We are seeing frightening examples of the artificial intelligence deployment threatening the very existence of what we have, emotional intelligence, IQ, etc. They are developing such a fast and rapid ability to think, does it mean that we are moving towards subhuman existence? And, those are some of the moral questions. The economic questions is, where are we going to be employing artificial intelligence to boost growth and to boost economic benefits? Those are the areas that we've got to look at. So we've got to be careful how we talk about the rave, and we have to be able to specifically employ and deploy it in areas where we can measure the benefits versus, the human involvement. Everything in terms of technology is good to develop human ability and capability to grow their environment more in terms of giving us benefits. But we have to also weigh that against the downside of at what loss? How much would we be losing by employing and deploying too much of artificial intelligence? Nothing to stop the development, but let's employ it for the good, and those are the areas that we have to absolutely clearly look at. In which areas, which I don't mind, for example, we talk about artificial intelligence improving a vehicle and reducing accidents by artificial intelligence being able to sense oncoming collisions, etc. That's a good thing. That's absolutely a good thing, where it's driving, reduction of deaths on the road, for example. So in every aspect where it's employed and deployed, we'll have to look at the benefits and how much is going to benefit us. Is it going to be able to, in a production capacity, improve our volume of production to give us more economic growth? Sure, if it's employed in all the right production lines and we benefit from it, that is, we get more income and more revenue, fine. But we also look at the dangers of it replacing too much of the human capital development. Then I have a worry with that.
All right, just like you said, you have a worry. There are two sides to a coin. Whatever seemed to be good could also have the other side. What are the kind of challenge that you foresee as regards to the deployment of AI? Could be the kind of prejudice or bias to the deployment or the threat that this could portend for global economy?
Right. it goes back again to balance and trade and those who have the advantage. If AI is being deployed in countries where you have, billions of people, if you do the mathematics, it may not affect the human capital development, but is used as a tool. Where it is in areas where you do not have as much human capital development and the volume of people, and you have, for example, robotics replacing them. So a business entrepreneur can go into an environment, he uses his AI, and the AI is for his benefit to the exclusion of the involvement and the participation of, let's say, a host country. Then, for me, that's part of the downside. Because yes, it's a good technology, but the technology is being misused in terms of non-participation of the development of a particular area where it is being deployed. So if we take, for example, again, let us look at Africa, and you bring artificial intelligence to an environment where you are exploiting and continue to exploit, and it helps you to, increase your production, but not to the benefit of the host country or community, then to me, that's a downside. We always have to look at where technology is being employed and how is it helping with economic growth and human capital development. I keep saying human capital development because artificial intelligence is seeming to and becoming to a third gender, if you want to put it that way. We have the human gender, and then you have the artificial intelligence gender, because it is being employed in a lot of robotics, from what I have been seeing. Are we going to be looking soon at a football game where it's only robots playing against each other, and we are cheering on, their skill rather than the human skill? So all the humans who would have been, and I'm just using an example that I saw recently of a robot on a field placing a ball on the ground and dribbling and actually scoring goals. What that portends is that we now may be looking at the next future of footballers being robots rather than humans. So we've lost that skill as humans, and there'll be no more jobs for humans because we'll be only watching robotic football. Now, that might sound far-fetched, but it's a reality that's being developed already. So again, it's already looking at what skills are being replaced and ensuring that human capital development is either growing or being gotten rid of. So we have to look at these things very, very specifically and with a very narrow focused look for benefits for ourselves, both as humans and also for countries.
Right, Ambassador William Wallace, we have to leave the conversation here, and we just have to thank you for creating time out of your busy schedule, to lend your voice on the agenda for the World Economic Forum, and it's quite commendable. Thank you so much for your time and your submissions, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll go on a short break now. We're going to look at the impact of this forum on Nigeria. What is in need for Nigeria? The Vice President who will be attending the session will be representing our President, and our President is expected to be one of the keynote speakers on Thursday. But the question is, what will be the impact on Nigerian economy? That conversation will take place after this short break. Stay with us.
My name is Olatunji Shoti Miri. I'm a performing artist and television radio presenter and a university lecturer, Unilag. Keep watching Souq News.
Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Black, Africa's finest music comedian, and you're watching Souq News. If you're not watching Souq News, I pity you, but keep watching Souq News.
Hello everyone, my name is Timida Kolo, and you're watching Souq News. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Wisdom Oluwaseun Okoko. co-founder Orbit Africa Properties. I'm live at Souq News. Guys, keep watching Souq News. For everything that concerns business, economy, politics, news, Souq News is your station.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemari Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange with Blessing Ache, Femi Ayodele, Sam Oruoje, and Idahosa Osamanze.
It's a national orientation agency. It's, as far as I'm concerned, very idle and unprofessional.
If government says that subsidy is not in oil and government is not supposed to be paying subsidy in oil,
energy or whatever kind of off-grid solution we will be looking at.
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, it's a bismarck. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, it's still Early Exchange, and we're looking at the World Economic Forum. The question is, what benefit inherent in this forum for Nigeria, as the Vice President is deemed to attend this conference to represent our President, President Bola Tinubu? We have an in-house analyst joining us to provide insight to this. We have Dr. Idahosa Osamanze. Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Femi, good morning. My pleasure to be here. Good morning, viewers.
As usual, you look corporate.
Yeah.
Like a banker. All right. Now, let's look at the World Economic Forum. Today is very strategic. The news is the Vice President is there to represent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is deemed to be one of the keynote speakers on Thursday. He's going to have a session to talk about, some of the critical issues related to Africa, and perhaps Nigeria. Now, what are your expectations now that you have people who should represent the interest of Africa? Our guest earlier talked about the agenda for the meeting, not making reference to the issue of securities in West Africa or Africa as a continent. But now that we have a president who is representing, or the vice president representing the president, what are your expectations from this kind of?
Well, I think the World Economic Forum had become a platform where nations sit down, negotiate, network about economic issues globally, although they had no force for execution in some of these resolutions, just to create a platform to bring to the front burner issues that are affecting the globe, that are of mutual interest to every country around the globe. And of course, membership spans across all the both recognized and non-recognized states in the global scene. And this meeting has been going on for years. At a certain level, the World Economic Forum was actually advocating for a constitutional federation Earth, where, of course, you have a supranational body that really could enforce some of the decisions that come out from these multilateral agencies. But that said, is to say, well, our vice president has gone in there. This is not the first time the meeting is holding, so he has always heard. So if we're saying there's any expectation for us, that will be depending on the bargaining power of His Excellency, the president represented by Vice President Kashif Shettima, to be able to look at what opportunity, what new friends to meet, and then, of course, to set the Nigerian agenda, which the president has himself been marketing, as I say, 7 months ago he came into office. And that is to say, Nigeria is open for business. We need partners who will partner with us. There's a whole lot of opportunity around us that can be leveraged by those who have capital. And I think that's much that one will expect. There's no significant difference, because you must understand also that in international politics, usually an extension of your domestic policy. What that means is that every nation goes to Davos and expecting what to get, but they set agenda. Now, the conversation is here. You have some senior partners and junior partners. So where we fall is, where are we going to go to Davos as junior partners, or we're going to also be talking, representing the black race as African leaders? Nigerian is a giant of Africa. Then we must allow that giant to rise and that giant to speak on behalf of the African continent. That, of course, the West has exploited Africa for too long. And some of these issues that are being raised today are raised and, of course, skewed in favor of the Western Asian government economy. And therefore, Africa needs to also be prioritized in terms of opening up of space for African goods and services, to also give us the leverage to play in those areas where we seem to have comparative cost advantage. And I think this, for me, should be the agenda that the Vice President should be putting on the table at that Davos, that we have opportunities that world can explore for the good of the entire globe. Like the President said the last time he was at the United States of America, that Africa, the world needs Africa to survive. And therefore, we must prioritize this. So our position
was actually, I don't know, I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News, who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
My name is Dr. Ajili Tobi.
My name is Etemere Glover.
Naomi, well done, and shout out to Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. I want to encourage everyone to keep watching Souq News. Shout out to Souq News, and yes, tune into them.
Keep watching Souq News. They are one in town.
Hey, we're watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News.
Keep watching Souq News. Catch them on YouTube and all social media channels.
Hey, my name is Frank Edowo, and I'm imploring you. No, forget that. I am forcing you, coercing you to always stay tuned to Souq News for your news requirements.
Today we are conducting mining today. Solid minerals, as an example, is, in no disrespect to anybody, it's abysmal. We definitely need improvements in those areas. Of course, there are infrastructural needs.
This is Early Exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.
All right, we must apologize for that break in transmission. It's still Early Exchange, and we're still looking at the World Economic Forum, and our in-house analyst is still here with us. We still have Dr. Idauza Osamanze. All right, earlier you were talking about what the Nigeria agenda should look like. I would like us to be very specific, perhaps if you're in position to help the Vice President set the right agenda. What should be the priority, also what you call comparative advantage for Nigeria? In this kind of forum, you have investors coming together from different continents. What kind of comparative advantage will it be for Nigeria? And talking about the Nigerian agenda, what should be on the list, on the table?
Yeah, like I've said, for us as a people, what we really need now, looking at the kind of gap in terms of infrastructure development, we need a lot of partnership with those with capital. And mind you, these are not just government personalities. You also have business people, renowned social activists, and a whole lot of people who are also coming for this conference. So for me, it is the networking opportunity that these afford us to be able to say to people, we have potential in the solid mineral. We need partnership. We need investment in the development of basic infrastructure, whether they be road, seaports, airports. We need a whole lot of partnership in these areas. And we should be able to go to this conference looking out for people who are also looking for places to do business. And then they assure us that where we have created a climate for investment to happen. Because as we speak right now, we cannot really say this is where we'll have a comparative advantage in terms of cost, even in terms of the primary sources of agricultural produce we have. So what we just need is that collaboration or partnership with people with substance who can come and invest in our environment and thereby helping us to solve the social ills around us. And this is critical. We have a population which is the biggest asset that we have. Just a population that is as vibrant, young people, able-bodied, willing and ready to work. So this is what we sell to the people. We're dealing with our local issues, but government is willing to create that enabling environment for the mutual benefit of investors and the country itself. So this is where, for me, the Vice President should be upfront in terms of negotiation and look at where value really lies and see how he can attract more resources. We just need a whole lot of foreign direct investment at the moment. Because all the conversations that are going to be happening around, you see, the agenda is skewed such a way that if you're talking about science and tech, AI and technology, we are not anywhere around it. Yeah, but we are ready for this business to happen. But we need a whole lot of collaboration. I don't think this is an opportunity to be asking countries for loan. Like Mr. President has said in several fora, what we really need is to see these people who come to invest while we delay gratification in terms of benefits coming. So if you can invest in our road and we have clean roads, we have bigger airports, seaports, and then that can boost trade. That creates a lot of employment. Take a lot of our young people off vices and then make them to be very productively engaged as business flourishes in our country.
Now let's look at the agenda for the forum. The first on the list is the issue of global security. Earlier we had a guest who made mention of the fact that references were being made to the tension in the Middle East, and reference is not being made to the issue of insecurity in Africa or West Africa. What do you think the Vice President, like every other African leader who is present at this forum, could do differently to change the agenda on the narrative to ensure that the issues of insecurity as far as Africa or West Africa is concerned are also are enlisted as part of the talking points for this kind of forum?
Yeah, but you also understand, like I said before, in international politics, what matters to people, especially those who are setting the agenda, is where their interest lies. They have more value in the Middle East than they have in Africa. And that's actually where African has not been able to really evolve.
Shouldn't that
as
be
a
source
continent.
of worry to African leaders, especially those who are present at the forum, and then source of concern for them?
Yeah, you see, this is what I'm saying. Africa need to recreate itself. And they don't need any foreign power or body to speak for it. We need a united Africa where we can speak in with one voice. Take, for example, the GCC country. They're speaking with one voice. They are having their own conference. They're dealing with themselves. Oman, Kuwait, UAE, and all the 7 countries of the GCC, they come together and form a strong and solid bloc. And they are helping themselves in terms of development and spread. So they have become an important voice globally. And I think this is where we also need to elevate our conversation in Africa. We are the big boys in Africa, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, all come together with one strong voice and to pursue one African agenda and not allow itself to be fragmented by the Western power or the Eastern powers. So this has been the problem in African foreign relations, where we are either used by the forces in the West or forces in the East, because we are not significant. So there's nobody who's going to do that for you. We should have a strong African union that transcends one single nationality. In that case, you will not become a significant voice in global issue. As long as we are going to be going to this global event with our different voices in pieces, it will not amount to so much. And that's why you see the focus will always be around the Middle East. And this is because the people in the Middle East are themselves formed themselves into politically, economically, and socially. And doors are open within and among themselves. Travels are easy. Barriers are removed. And everybody is working as one. We need to get to that point in Africa. And then we will be able to actually say to the West that, because some of the problems that we actually found, like your earlier guest said, precipitated from the West. All the conflicts that we have in here, those who have the technology to produce weapons need markets to sell it. And so, but Africans have to come together and say no and speak with one voice. Then, of course, they will be recognized by the great powers.
All right, still on the issue of security, you know, Nigeria has its own peculiar insecurity or security challenges. What kind of collaborations are you expecting the Vice President will pursue in this kind of forum to ensure that the security architecture for Nigeria is better? Could it be in the area of, you know, intelligence gathering, weapons? What kind of collaboration will you be expecting from this kind of forum and the kind of partnership when it comes to the issue of security?
Yeah, but another thing is also to look at it that really looking at the security situation in Nigeria, and I don't think in my own rating that is something that actually worries the West. Because it's also not as deep-rooted as you find in the Middle East. You can see what has happened in Syria since the Arab Spring. Crisis is on. Look at the challenges in Iran, Iraq. All those crises are now becoming real institutionalized. And I don't think that that's our problem as we speak, where you are seeing that states are actually rated to be terrorists in terms of relation. We don't have that in Africa as yet, where you're seeing a government or you're seeing the state or the structure of the state involved in terrorism and creating a whole lot of destruction, as we've seen happen in the Suez Canal attacks. These are state institutions, really not individual terrorists like we have in Nigeria. But that said, it's also to look at it that while we're looking for partners, and I think the issues in Nigeria is actually to deal with poverty and take away a lot of hunger, and then you will be able to starve the pool from which these terrorists recruit people. And once you starve them of the pool, then the issue will die by itself. And that's what we need to do. And that's why, for me, the real agenda should be economic agenda. Because once you deal with the economic issues and situation that faces us as a country, we will be able to take a lot of people out of crime. And this, for me, is the issue. This is where Nigeria needs to put its own emphasis on. because we don't have state-driven terrorism. All we're having is pockets of kidnapping, banditry, and they are all around economic issues. So those local negotiations we should be able to do here, and to assure the international community that we are doing everything humanly possible to make the climate safe for investment.
All right, let's look at the issue of AI, artificial intelligence. It's also part of the agenda for the forum. Now, the plan is to see how AI can be deployed to be a force to achieving economic growth and making the society better. For Nigeria, how can a nation like Nigeria achieve this, deploying AI towards economic growth?
Well, I think there's so much to be done. You know, I was talking about the GCC countries. In the last 5 years, United Arab Emirates has a ministry that is dedicated to artificial intelligence. No science and technology. They call it Ministry of Artificial Intelligence. And all that ministry is doing is to see how can we channel AI for the good of our people. And they've been leveraging these opportunities. And I think this is what we should do, really. You see, when you talk about artificial intelligence and its use in our economy, I think we are not just going to go to the West and say, come and do this thing for us. What we should be doing is to say to ourselves, there's a new trend that's going to drive the world. How do we position ourselves to leverage the opportunities that are within this area? And I think I like what the National Board of Technical Education had done in a circular that was issued last week, that all the Polytechnic, National Polytechnic, offering courses in computer science at HND should break them down into specifics. Maybe that would be the starting point. But we need a structure here on ground as a country where we can deploy the energy of our young people to embrace this emerging technology. And then it will amaze you what our people can do with it. We have quite cerebral people. We need to bring these energies together and build a system. If we do it well, or we channel the right resource and energy into it, we could even beat the West in terms of the development of artificial intelligence. Because we have very creative and innovative people here. What we have not had is that platform and opportunity for these people to express themselves. So one government can give that fillip to what we're doing at the academic level, then we can boost ourselves. We cannot just go to the West and import an AI product, no. We should be able to leverage the technology and create our own here, which of course we can also sell to other countries or even to the West.
That's great. All right. So let's wrap up this conversation with the talk on climate change, the issue of energy. The plan is also to ensure that by the year 2050, globally, the issue of carbon neutrality has been achieved. How can we localize this agenda as a nation? What should be the starting point for Nigeria and to make this a reality?
Well, I think in the issue of climate change, we have spoken so much about that in here because, you see, when these conversations are ongoing, the West already has created a product that they want to sell. And I think what we should do as Africans is also to negotiate. And I think that's critical. Some of the resources that they are taking away from us, and we tell them, no, we don't want you to take it. We want you to add value to it in our environment rather than take them wholesale. Those are the kind of conversations that we should have. Because the transition is expensive. And as it is, the West are not really willing to part with resource, except to drain the little that is here. One would have hoped that since COP26 in Paris, that the Western country were actually funding these events here in the third world countries or developing countries of the world. But they don't really know so much about it. So I think it's a high time for Africans to actually sit down again and ask themselves, what do we do with what God has given to us? It is our own. They need our consent to use it. And we are going to tell them we are no longer going to sell to you the way we used to sell it. Bring your money to develop it. So you can't be devaluing our people to develop yourself. So there will be mutual benefit in terms of how we derive these resources and use them for the good of the world. But I think the whole idea should be toward global justice, a global equity, where no part of the world is actually left out, and we all develop at the same space. Because if one nation is left out, the challenge of global security will continue to be a front burner on national global agenda.
All right, with that words of wisdom, we have to appreciate you for your submission. Dr. Idahosa Osamanze, thank you for your time on any exchange. You know, talking about the impact of the forum on the Nigerian economy and what the Vice President, who is representing the President, should do in a forum like this. Well, thank you for your time and your commitment.
Thank you, Femi. We do wish the Vice President a good time in Davos, and we're expecting that some dollars, pounds, or euros should come with him to sort our local issues.
All right. That's interesting. We are hopeful, too, as Nigerians, to see what will come from Nigeria as far as this forum is concerned. Talking about the president of the Vice President, we feel he's capable. He's a former banker. Let's see what will come out of this kind of conversation. Well, we have to call it a wrap now because it's a done deal for today. And don't forget, you can do a catch-up of this conversation on our YouTube platform, on our social media platform. Just search for Souq News. There you have all the conversations we've had as regards World Economic Forum. The submissions of our earlier guests is also there. Just do a catch-up for you to be able to get the thrust of our conversation today. Don't forget, Early Exchange returns tomorrow. This conversation will still continue tomorrow. We'll still be looking at the World Economic Forum because it's still ongoing. And until then, I am Femi Ayodele. Bye for now.